Good morning, fifth graders. Today we are on our last lesson of our cereal box project. So we're almost done. We just have the back of our cereal box left to complete. So we need to figure out how to input line graphs or bar graphs into a Google slide or how to create them. Another way you can do it is to create them using pencil paper if you are doing them by yourself. So there'll be a separate video to remind you how to do that if you need it, but we're just going to go over how to do it online first. So you're going to go into your cereal box, and I'm on the back of my cereal box because that's where my graph needs to go. Let's review what needs to be part of our graph. So we're going to look at the back of our box. So we need to choose a line graph or a bar graph. We need to label our X and our Y axis correctly, and it has to have appropriate scale. The graph is titled with an appropriate title that matches the statistical question. Needs to have a key. The bars or the data points are correctly plotted on the graph. The graph is colorful and easy to read. So if you're doing this digitally, this is going to be pretty easy because the online portion is pretty much going to do a lot of this stuff for you or help you really set it up. It might get a little trickier if you're doing a hand graph, but if you have the option, you can always do one on the computer and print it out and put it on your box if that's an option. Otherwise, we will go over how to do a hand graph in the next video. So the back of the box, and we need to think about our data. So let's look again at my data that I collected. So I have one person who did a snowman and 22 people who went sledding, who wanted to go sledding. So I'm probably going to want to choose a bar graph because I don't have a lot of data points to compare. I'm only looking at two different subject areas. I'm looking at sledding and a snowman. So I want to choose a double bar graph. And so I'm going to format or insert a chart, and I'm going to choose a bar graph is sideways on here and a column graph goes up and down. So I probably want my columns because I like looking at things up and down instead of the horizontal. So it's just going to insert a random graph into your chart. So then you're going to have to click this and you're going to have to open the source. Once you've opened the source, now you can edit your graph. So what you're going to do is you're going to change all this to match your data. So I'm going to choose snowman and sledding. And I only have one set of data that I'm working with really right now. So I could write down here, I could write fifth grade, or if you went outside of your fifth grade, if you did family, so you could have fifth grade, you could have family, you could have friends, and this is one way you can compare your data if you collected data outside of just the Google form. So let's say I surveyed my family and 5 of them wanted to build a snowman and 3 wanted to go sledding. And then I surveyed my friends and 2 wanted to build a snowman and let's change that to my actual data. 22, 1 for 5th grade. And then 2 of my friends wanted to build a snowman, and 6 wanted to go sledding. So now you can see I have all my data to compare, and the computer went and they changed my scale as I entered in different numbers. Because when I had this way up at 89, you can see that it makes it a lot harder to read the rest of my data because this data point is so different than the rest of my data. But when I changed it to the true number, it makes it so it's easier to read all of it. So now, let's say I want to change my style. So I'm going to put my video over here a little bit so I can see. And I can change my style of my graph over here when I click on my chart settings. So I can customize, so I can change the chart style, so I can change the border color, the background color, the font. So let's say I want a funner font, so I change that. I can change my border color to match the color scheme of my layout. I can make it 3D to make it look and stand out a little bit more. So you can kind of play with these different modes to see. So here's where we can change our axis titles and our chart titles. So points scored does not match my title of my chart. So I want to do, would you rather build a snowman or go sledding? And I don't like my title to be off to the right, so I'm going to center my title. I can change the font size. I can change my text color. So I might want to change it to red because to match my border. And now I need to add my titles to my horizontal and my vertical axis, or my X and Y axis. So my horizontal title might be people surveyed. I'm going to change my text color to blue. So there's my horizontal. And then my vertical axis is so once again, now I have all my titles on my graph. So I've checked off the checks box on, I have my X and Y axis correctly labeled and they have appropriate scale. My graph is titled with an appropriate title and matches my statistical question. A key is included on my graph. So I have my key, but let's say I want to change the colors. So I'm going to go to Legend. It's going to appear at the right. Font size. I can change my text color. Change my text color on my axes if I want to. Ooh, that's hard to read. Let's choose a different green. Oops. Make my lines stick out a little bit more. If I change them to black, don't want any minor. There we go. I was going to say, I know there's a way to change. So our series colors, so I'm going to do, for sledding, I want this bright blue. And for, then I'm going to change it to snowman. I want it to be purple. So now, as you can see, I don't have a great color scheme because I was just kind of choosing random colors to show you how to change colors. But now I have a completely edited graph and it should be changed. So now I'm going to make sure it changes in here. So then I just have to hit update in my graph or in my chart. So now I have my chart on the back of my box. So I can change it around, I can recenter it, I can put some pictures around it to make it look a little fancier. But there I have my bar graph. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing if you want to do a line graph in your Google Slides, except for instead of inserting a column graph, you're going to insert a line graph. It's taking a little long. There we go. And then just the same way, I'm going to open my source and I'm going to change my information to match my data. So I would go through and change my information to match my data. Then I can edit all the different parts of my chart, rename it, just like I did with the column graph. So you just have to think which type of graph would best fit your data, and then you have to choose that graph and make it and put it into your presentation or your cereal box. You do not need both types of graphs. You just have to choose one type of graph for the back of your box. If you have any questions, make sure you jump onto our Google Meets today and we will go over any questions that you have about creating your graph. Remember, your project is due on Friday and you have tomorrow to work and finish it up. So make sure you get your graph done today and you can work on finishing it tomorrow.